Photographer Gareth Pursehouse, charged with murder and burglary in the death of his ex-girlfriend, sex therapist Amie Harwick. She's found beneath her bedroom balcony in her lovely Hollywood Hills home. This was February 2020 when it happened, just a day after Valentine's Day. Prosecution alleges Pursehouse broke into Harwick's home, attacked her when she returned from a night out with some friends. Purshehouse's defense says, no, it's just, he broke in to chat with her, apparently, and that's why he was there. If convicted, life imprisoned. It is technically a death penalty case, but it is California, which makes that a little gray. A former girlfriend who was with Pursehouse, can you imagine this? Hey, honey, let's just hang out for the day, maybe go to a movie. There are police here for some reason. Oh, you're arrested for murder? I guess we're not going to the movies. She's there when he's arrested. She took the stand. Let's take a listen to some of her testimony.
Now, I want to turn your attention to Valentine's Day itself, February 14th of 2020. Did you guys actually communicate on that day?
Yes.
Was that via phone call or text message?
I think it was text.
At this time, Your Honor, the people are holding a series of text messages. It's one page. May that be marked as people's next in order?
68.
Showing you what's been marked as People 68. Do you recognize these series of text messages?
Yes.
Do you recognize these as the text messages you exchanged with the defendant?
Yes.
Now I'm turning your attention to a text message that's in green. Are those text messages that you sent or text messages that you received?
I sent those.
And the text messages that have a dark background, what appears to be a dark gray or black background, are those text messages that you received from the defendant?
Correct.
Now I'm pointing your attention to the text message in green where it says, "What are you up to and why haven't you asked me out tonight? Sad face." Is that a text message that you sent to the defendant on Valentine's Day?
Yes.
And did he respond to you shortly thereafter?
Yes.
Now what time was that?
Looks like about 7 p.m.
Can you see it better there?
6:48 p.m. it says.
And what was his response to you?
En route home, I told you I'm busy all week.
Now, did you expect to hang out with him that day?
I did.
And why did you expect to hang out with him on Valentine's Day?
We had been hanging out and I enjoyed his company.
Now, did you find it kind of annoying that his response to you about Valentine's Day was that he'd be busy all week?
Yes.
Did he actually tell you what he was doing that day?
He said he was working on projects with some friends.
Did you find that to be a good excuse to not go out for Valentine's Day together?
Not particularly, but it is what it is.
What would you say his demeanor was when you initially saw him?
He greeted me, and after that he seemed sad and distant, I'd say.
Were you intimate on this occasion when you went to the defendant's house?
No, ma'am.
Did you guys hug or kiss?
I think we hugged, but that's it.
You may have kissed, or were you unsure?
Maybe.
Was that something that you would have customarily done in the prior times?
It's this thing that. Sorry, counsel.
Now, you said you hung out in the defendant's house for about a couple of hours. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you guys decide to do anything else aside from just stay at his place?
No.
Was there any conversation about doing anything else aside from helping him organize his house?
At that point, no.
At what point did you guys discuss doing anything else aside from staying home?
Prior to my riding the bike along the boardwalk, we discussed what if we wanted to hang out today and what we would do.
And was this on a phone call?
Correct.
And what was the discussion in regards to what to do that day?
I think we threw out ideas. I don't recall exactly, but I think he suggested maybe going to the shooting range. I wanted to go to the beach because it was a beautiful day out and I wanted to be outside. He said he couldn't go in the sun because his skin was sensitive.
Overall,
Because I'm sorry, what?
He said his skin was sensitive, so he couldn't be outside. And I think he suggested going to the shooting range after that. And that's, I think, when I said, I'll just ride my bike up to you and teach you how to use the jump bike, because he'd never ridden one before.
Okay, so Valentine's Day is in the mix. I'm trying to figure out how this relationship had evolved, if it had. He can't go out in the sun. He's in L.A. because his skin is sensitive. Boy, it's a very complicated mess here. Richard Schoenstein is here, speaking of complicated messes. And joining us is Catherine Lizardo. Always good to have you, Catherine. She's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She is a trial attorney there. So, Catherine, you can't help but get into some of the nuances of this kind of relationship as you're trying to figure out what this case is all about. Here's this woman he's been dating, I don't know, somewhat casually, but he's jumped over Valentine's Day, which to me says not so serious.
Exactly, and the prosecutor was trying to ask her, what did you think about that? Did you think that was acceptable? I think most of the jurors listening would agree to that if you're casually dating. But also what's notable is he's saying, I'm busy all week. He covered all week, not just that day, to explain why he can't be with her at that time. We know that the victim was killed around shortly 1 o'clock on Valentine's Day, 1 o'clock in the morning, I want to clarify. So after Valentine's Day, and that's what he was busy about, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. If he did this, if he's done what the prosecution suggests, then yeah, he had more things on his mind than a romantic encounter, Rich. And so what else does this witness bring to the mix? What do you think?
I have the loveliest life partner, and I've had for more than 20 years. And as happy as I am that she's in my life, I'm almost as happy that I've never had to use a dating app. Because I was watching that clip and I was thinking, imagine meeting some guy on a dating app, and the next thing you know, you're with him while he gets arrested for murdering another woman.
Probably not in his profile.
Yes, and it also seems like, on Valentine's Day, I told you I'm busy all week. That is not an A+ response on Valentine's Day under any circumstance, and certainly suggests he had something on his mind, which I think is relevant to the actual prosecution.
Yes, well, and I have to say, as a guy that used to be out and about there, that Valentine's date, that's a tricky one. You got to make a decision about where you are in the relationship, because it could go horribly south if you make the wrong call. Normally doesn't end in murder, though. Okay, let's take a listen now to some of the cross-examination of this former acquaintance, casual girlfriend.
So, on February 15th, you got this text message, Morning Sunshine, and you decide to take your jump bike and ride to Gareth's apartment. Is that right?
Yes.
And how many times had you been to that apartment?
I think twice before.
Okay. Twice. So this was the third time?
Yeah, either the second or third time.
Okay. And when you arrived, did you find that the condition of his apartment kind of bothered you?
Yes.
And could you tell us why it bothered you?
It was just disorganized. I think he was doing construction work on his front patio doors, so all of his things were kind of like piled away from that area, and it was messy.
And so you found it very disorganized, and did you suggest that you help him organize everything?
Correct, yeah.
You said that when you saw him on the 15th, when you went to his place on the 15th, he didn't seem as he normally was. He seemed sad and distant?
Correct.
And how could you tell he was sad and distant?
We didn't chat much, and he was kind of staring off into space, doing something on electrical on the door.
And do you recall saying to me when we spoke that you felt sorry for him and you wanted to be there when he was sad, the same way he'd been there for you when you were sad?
Yes.
I'd like to talk to you about when you left Gareth's place. you had ridden a bike to his home, but you didn't want to have to ride it back. Is that correct?
I was going to ride it back. He offered to drive me home.
Okay.
I like riding bikes.
Okay.
It's not unusual.
Okay. So he offered to give you a ride and you accepted it
Correct.
because you had some friends that you were meeting up with later?
Correct.
So you hear her talking about these jump bikes, which I've heard of before. They're basically electric bikes that you kind of share, like city bikes you might hear in Manhattan. And then I think Uber bought the company for $200 million. So come up with a decent idea. So that's the jump bike that they are talking about. Rich Schoenstein, let me ask you this. I get the sense that this witness, among other things, is there to kind of give the jury some sense of his demeanor that morning in relation to what he's been accused of doing. Somehow they'll glean from that lack of remorse, planning, something. What do you think?
Well, I think that's exactly why he's there. She doesn't know if he did it or not. She didn't see it. She doesn't have any direct evidence of that. So she's just testifying about what he was like prior to being arrested. So if you thought he was totally innocent and only responded to being arrested, you have some information now about, it's consciousness of guilt. He was sad, he was distant. Why? Because he had killed somebody.
Yeah, or, Catherine, he's a sociopath. And, for him, it's just another day. It's another day I'm either a bike ride or I'm killing somebody.
It could be that too, because of the way that his relationship with the victim unfolded. They haven't even seen each other for 8 years after all of that restraining orders, and then they saw each other the night at a party a month before. And it's my understanding that he was severely disturbed, that it triggered him back. And so the question also that I'd like to know from this witness is, how was he days before Valentine's Day? We see testimony as to how he was the day after or the day of the murder, because the murder happened early in the morning. And Rich is correct that they want her to testify how he was behaving oddly, that he was sad and distant. So I wonder how he was before that, specifically after he saw the victim.
Yeah. So was he sad and distant because he felt like whatever this casual relationship was kind of falling flat, and he was sort of taking the slow breakup procedure, or because he just killed somebody? We're going to need to learn a whole lot more, and of course we will as we continue to follow this case out of California. We'll be back right after this break. This is Law and Crime.